Hello all, and a very warm welcome to our second National Health and Care Analytics Conference and the third event in our series of online E-labs. So this is guiding leaders to better quality decisions, the pivotal role of analysts. I'm Rachel Caswell. I'm an analyst in the strategy unit, and I've been working with others to plan HACA, which celebrates the outstanding work of health and care analysts, bringing them together with leaders to showcase how analysts support high quality decisions. How perfect is this event for that aim? So last year's HACA was a huge success, and this year is even better. With almost 180 abstracts, we've designed an amazing programme with inspiring speakers, interactive workshops, posters too, all centred around the theme, exploring the what, how and why of analytics. So before I hand over to our guests, I'd just like to remind you of a few bits of housekeeping so we can get the most from our session today. So if you could please keep yourself on mute during the session and say hi in the chat box, and also use the chat box to raise questions. Oops. For our presenters, and if you have any technical issues, the session is being recorded and will be on the website in a couple of weeks or so. And please do tweet or use any preferred social media forum about today's session, and we'd love to have magenta all over the social media screens. So I would like to introduce today's speakers. So we have Samantha Riley, who is the Director of Making Data Count, NHS England, and Andrew Bourne, Business Intelligence and Data Science Manager, University Hospitals, Morecambe Bay, NHS FT. And without further ado, I would like to hand over to our guest speakers today, Sam and Andrew. Go for it.
Thanks, Rachel. So lovely to be here. I'm going to jump straight into sharing my screen. We did test it and it worked. So let's hope that it still works. So I can see an orange dot, but Andrew's giving me a thumbs up.
It's all good.
You can see the slides already, and now I can see the slides, which is always a good start, isn't it? So thanks so much for asking us to present today. So what an exciting topic, guiding leaders to better quality decisions. So some of you might know me already. So I've led the movement to plot the dots and get rid of RAG reporting. I've had the pleasure of working with the Morecambe Bay team for quite an extended period of time. So Andrew, do you want to say hello to people?
Yeah, hi, I'm Andrew Brown. I'm the BI and Data Science Manager at Morecambe Bay Hospitals. I'm not if it's full title, it goes on too long. I've been sort of information analytics for 22 years, nearly at UHMB now. And I think looking forward to, I suppose, just talking through a bit of how it's empowered our team, working with Sam's team, and how that's benefited sort of myself and the wider team.
Brilliant. So you can then put questions in the chat. We are going to take the questions at the end, but we've got some exciting stuff for you. We're even going to do a bit of role play. So you didn't know what you were getting into. We have practiced, but be kind to us. So what are we going to cover? So just going to start with some background and context to the joint work that we've undertaken with Morecambe Bay. This is going to be a double act, I should have said. So Andrew's going to talk about how the business intelligence team has become empowered as part of the process of working with us. Then he's going to specifically talk about an approach which has worked fantastically within the trust. Some of you might have come across the work led by Glenn Howard in the Midlands around data-driven MDTs. And well, at the end, Andrew's got some reflections and he's got some top tips for you. So some practical steps for you to take away. But let's start with the background. So some background and context. So this isn't going to be a big Making Data Count training session. We provide enough training on that, so you can jump onto a session whenever you want. But just to say, what has this all been about? Making Data Count has been about getting rid of things that look like this. And this is the kind of stuff that we would have seen on our travels in many, many, many different places. And some of you might already know that this makes me sad. Now, if you don't know why it makes me sad, you definitely need to join a Making Data Count training session. Now, this also makes me very sad. Comments that people write that look like this, that tell us about a change of number going up or going down, makes me really sad. It makes me want to cry. And the reason for that is that we all learnt maths at primary school. So if you've got a number 5 and we were to put another number alongside it, what might the number be? Now, I know that you're a very educated audience on this session, so I'm not going to ask you to put the answers in the chat. You know, don't you, that the number could be higher, or the number could be lower, or the number could be quite possibly the same. So those are the only options. So it's not helpful, is it, to tell us that a number's gone up or down? And some of you might be old enough, like me, because I'm old now. Do you remember Bruce Forsyth playing your cards right? The game was about cards being higher or lower. So great game, but we don't want to play that game with our data because it is really, really, really unhelpful. Look, we've got some emojis. People are, well, they're remembering it. Some of them are remembering it. So why don't I like RAG reporting? So this is what decision makers have generally used as their key tool to understand performance. So here we're looking at RTT performance. Why don't I like it? Well, if we look at general surgery, it's red with the downward arrows. We probably think it's bad and it's getting worse. But if we plot the data over time using one of the lovely Making Data Counts tools, then we can see that actually there's been some amazing progress. The blue dots tell us that there's statistical improvement in the data. So we've got improvement hidden in the data. So that's a classic improvement hidden in the red. And if we look at rheumatology, it looks the same in the RAG table, but the SPC chart shows us a totally different picture. So this is why Sam doesn't like RAG reporting. So what we've been teaching people about is variation. And if you think about me getting the tube to work, if I plotted my journey to work time, I might end up with a chart that looks like this. There's some variation in how long it takes me to get to work. That's expected. That's common cause variation for you, those of you that don't know. Now, if I drove to work, which I wouldn't ever do because I live in London, so that would be a crazy thing to do. But if I did do it and I encountered a crash, which might be quite possible in London, then that point at the end is where I had the crash. Hopefully I didn't have the crash, I encountered the crash. It took me a lot longer to get to work. Hopefully that's an unusual event, that's special cause variation. And if I did drive to work and I saw roadworks like this, it looks like it's not going to be done overnight. It looks like it's going to be months, doesn't it? What might my chart look like? It might look something like this. So I either need to accept it's going to take me longer to get to work when we've got the roadworks ongoing, or I need to go and find a different route. So again, that's unusual variation. It's really important that we help decision makers pick up these critically important patterns in the data so that they can react to them appropriately. And that's where RAG reporting definitely needs to be replaced with charts that enable us to understand variation, which is SPC. Now, some of you might have heard about spuddling. Andrew knows all about spuddling, and Andrew's work in Morecambe Bay has resulted in much less spuddling. It's an old English word. What's the definition of spuddling? Well, it's this: to make a lot of fuss about trivial things as if they were important. And what we know is when people start using SPC charts to look at their data, they don't spend half as much time overreacting to data points that are going up and down just randomly. And we just can't afford to spend time spuddling in the NHS, because you will all know we haven't got limitless resource. We need to be focused on the things that are important. We don't want big and fuss and drama over nothing. So I had to use this slide. So these are the cards that even you, any of you, could order yourselves. And Andrew's got cards, whole team's got cards in Morecambe Bay. If you think somebody's spuddling, you can raise the yellow card. It doesn't say you are spuddling, it asks the question. And if people do it again, they might get the red card. So introducing the Making Data Count approach has driven a significant behaviour change. So if you don't know what I've been talking about, you need to join a Making Data Count session another time. But let's think about the work that we undertook with Morecambe Bay. So just to explain the role of my team, so we are within NHS England and we are working within the Recovery Support Programme. That means that we are focused most heavily on the organisations that are the most challenged. So the trusts or the systems that have been in special measures or in SOF or NOF4. So Morecambe Bay, I think it's fair to say, has been a challenged organisation for quite a period of time over the years. They're now happily not within NOF4. They've moved out of that situation, but it provided us with the opportunity to work quite extensively with the Morecambe Bay team, which has been absolutely fantastic. So I had quite a few visits to Kendal. Now, Andrew, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that that's the widest church or one of the widest churches in England. That's what the sign said.
Yeah, no, that's news to me. It's not my
Well,
neck of the
you
woods,
didn't
that
know
one.
that, did you?
That's why Morecambe Bay's challenge. Big geography.
Well, there you go. Look, that proves that I went there. That is making data count with me. That is on site. It was cold that day. And that's Aaron, that's the Chief Executive of Morecambe Bay. And I think it's fair to say that he's been really behind the work that's been undertaken in the trust. Look, he's got those spuddling cars that I just showed you. So there you go. So it's very interesting because I've worked with a lot of challenged organisations, and every challenged organisation has somebody within the recovery support programme that oversees the whole package of support, and they're called improvement directors. And my experience over the years has been that quite often I have a conversation with an improvement director. They've just started working with a new organisation, and what they say to me is, "Oh, Sam, not sure about the BI team. I think you're going to need to send in some of your team to do the work of the BI team." And the answer to that is, well, we've never had a situation where we do go in and think that business intelligence team is terrible. We absolutely don't see that, and we're never going to put people in to do the work for the organisation. So that's what I heard. You know, maybe people were saying, "Oh, well, not sure about that team in Morecambe Bay." But when we had our first meeting with Andrew and Kelly and others, Harry within the trust, what we thought was, well, this was our impression. We thought that they had a fantastic business intelligence team. They were busy, they had lots of ideas, there was a lot going on, they were quite pressurised, but we immediately thought there's a fantastic team here of people. So that was the first impression. The other impression that I had was it didn't feel like they were really being listened to, and they probably hadn't been listened to for quite a long time. So people might have asked for things, but they didn't really listen to what the feedback was from the BI team. And so the impact, I think, on the team was the picture here. So it felt like there was a bit of anguish. People felt a little bit, I don't know, demotivated maybe. They'd been worn down a bit. Maybe people sometimes felt a little bit upset and angry. That might be Kelly, Andrew. Do you think that might be Kelly? Look, she looks like she might hit somebody in a moment.
Yeah.
Didn't see any tears, but there probably was some finger pointing going on. Is that fair, Andrew? No tears, but close to it?
That's fair. That's fair.
And probably quite a lot of shouting at computers going on. So fantastic team, but it felt like they were a bit frustrated, a bit demotivated. And it felt to me as though maybe the demotivation, apart from not really being listened to, came from partly this, which was feeding the beast of reporting. Now, some of it might have been for NHS England, of course. Sorry about that, Andrew. But some of it, I think, would be feeding the internal beast of things that people just wanted regularly, might not have used. And it felt like a bit of a production line. Is that fair?
That's fair. I think it's the NHS firefighting mode we generally get into. So we just focus on the next task, and it's very much next task, next task, next task.
So yes, feeding that beast. So we started working with the organisation, I think, was it March 22? I think that's what I said. Yeah, March 22, around that time. Now, look at what the team were like in June 2023. So not much of a year after we met those people that were a little bit demotivated. This was the first BI team away day, and this was the first one after the pandemic. Is that right, Andrew?
It's the first time we'd been together since the pandemic. There were some people in the photo we hadn't even met face to face because a couple of people, one person was working in London.
So you've been working at home behind your little screens like I was. But look, we had a fantastic away day in a very unusual venue. where there was a cattle sale going on that day. Anyway, the chief exec, Aaron, who you've already seen, he came and opened the day. He told the team how valued they were, what an important contribution they made to improving patient care within the trust. And I think that started the day off fantastically. Now, look, here we've got Andrew, Smiley Andrew, and Kelly and Harry. They've got their spuddling cards, but look what they've also got there, and Andrew's got it in his hand. They are some of the few analysts in the country that have been awarded Making Data Count awards for outstanding work. So there you go. So a very different team, just a year or so on. So let's have a little quick look at some of the achievements of this team. And bear in mind, this was the very same team as I've met in March 22 that looks a little bit demotivated. So in October, they trialled this data-driven approach, which I know Andrew is going to talk about a lot more later in the session. So we're one of the first trusts to trial that in a small way within the community team. In November, some of you may know that we've got an analyst network meeting for Making Data Count. Quite difficult to get people to present. There's a hint there. So if any of you would like to present and have a little award, well, there's an encouragement. So November, we had a presentation about the fantastic work on a metric library. Then look, you presented again, Andrew. This was about narrative capture website. That was in March. Now, we developed a data quality improvement module with Morecambe Bay. So you were the first trust to use that and develop it with us. This is all alongside Andrew and team's day job. In May, you had CQC commendation on how far you'd come in terms of use of data. So I bet that was a good day, wasn't it?
That was really good, I think, because there was we had the flip previous CQC inspection around how we didn't use our data well enough from a decision-making perspective, and we relied on other external bodies to let us know where some of our issues particularly were. So to have it flipped around the other way was it was a good day.
Excellent. Oh, that's interesting. I'm just going to carry it.
Hiya.
I think there's somebody that might need to go on mute.
No, I'm in work tomorrow, I'm afraid.
I'm going to pause until we're muted. Are we okay now? Okay, excellent. Well done. So in June last year, my team undertook quite a comprehensive review of every IPR for every trust in the country. And we did that to try and highlight where the best integrated performance reports, just to say that's the document that boards would look at to understand how they're doing around quality, finance, workforce performance. So Morecambe Bay had an exemplary IPR, which was fantastic. We identified only 13 trusts with an exemplary IPR. And I can definitely tell you that having observed the board meeting on many occasions, that IPR has made a very significant difference to how the board has conversations and the types of decisions that it makes. And then, well, in December, we had another amazing presentation, which was about PowerPoint being dead. And that was all about introducing the data-driven MDTs, which Andrew's going to talk about. So we got lots of gold stars here. We got a metric library, the recovery support program. We're seeing data about how the trust was improving. You developed a fantastic mortality dashboard. You had your data-driven MDTs, some brilliant maternity reporting, some of the best reporting that we've seen. ESR was quite a challenge when we came in, but the team did some fantastic work to get ESR data really being used and improved. And I think you said, Andrew, that you quite regularly now speak to trusts, providing them with advice on what you've done.
Yeah, we have. There's been a few sort of trusts we've spoken to and advised on and sent various guidance documents and different things. And I think there's some advice we're getting back from them now as well, which is great.
Fabulous. Now, you might be thinking, is this just Morecambe Bay? Were they super special and super amazing? Well, what I reflected on was actually every organisation that we'd worked with that was challenged, we'd come across fantastic, brilliant analysts that did look a bit demotivated and not listened to. And when we exited the organisation, what we found was people were much more motivated. So this was a team that I worked with before Morecambe Bay. This was North Lincolnshire and Goole. Look, they got awards too. Look how happy and smiley they are. So again, we've had the same kind of impact on this team. And here's a nice little quote from one of them. talking about the fact that actually the whole process of redeveloping the integrated performance report was really empowering, and it provided them with a lot more confidence. And I think that's what Andrew's going to start to share with us now. So Andrew, I'm going to hand over to you and hope that it works and you can take control. Let's see.
Let's have a look. Right.
And I've added some glasses onto the your slides, Andrew. You notice that they're not rose-coloured?
No, I don't know if it's just because I put them on and not have my picture. So yeah, it's fine. Yeah. No, thanks, Sam. I think when I was sort of reflecting on what to sort of talk through and present on this, I was thinking around, I say what the right topic will be, and then Sam mentioned empowerment. I think empowerment was really, really key as to what we've sort of built upon going forwards and how the team has become empowered. We're data people, if anything like me, you like definitions. So empower, what is empowerment? So empower gives someone official authority or the freedom to do something. And that's really where we're sort of coming from with this. So why? What was the formula? Why have we gone from sort of where we were to where we are now? So we had the Making Data Count team. So we had Sam's team coming in and sort of working with us. But what did that do? How did that provide this sort of level of empowerment? Well, so it's Sam's team plus. So we had clear expectations what we needed to deliver. So around the IPR sort of we were talking through and the framework we're working within and looking to develop, there was some clear expectations around what's to be delivered. We developed some new skills. So there's an element of not just going through Sam's awesome training with the Making Data Count team. We use ClickSense. We have a Click developer who developed a custom extension to show SPC charts in Click, which was a real game changer, and also a sort of a summary scorecard as well. So there's a lot of development from a technical perspective that it enabled, as well as sort of the more technical training we went through as well from SPCs. It was about encouraging participation. Sam and team were amazing at encouraging us to try things. They were sort of suggesting different things. We could have said no. We said yes. Let's try them and see how we got on. That's how the sort of the MDTs, data MDTs came in. But that participation, encouraged participation around the wider team, sort of let's look at this as a team and who else can we get involved, and externally sort of out into the operations side as well, actually some real people that would help us drive and deliver these things sort of going forwards. Supportive environment was a brilliant one. One thing that we did do quite early on was bring in an executive who was fully behind it, and some senior management which helped drive this as well. So then we're working with Sam, it allowed us to sort of hold the line with developing various solutions we had to develop. So there was some sustainability, and that's really key. They could get off the hamster wheel. They could actually develop something that becomes sustainable going forward. And it's not a push of a button by any means, but it's not hours and hours and hours of work every single month to produce something. Recognition of the work. Sam's already shown the fantastic awards. Everyone got a medal when we did a thank you medal, and we did the away day, which is fantastic. But just people saying thank you, Aaron coming and saying thank you, various people that we've spoken to and just said, you've done some really good work. Sometimes one of the things you need is just being told that, thanks, that's really good, that's made a real difference, and actually seeing how that's some impacts made. So I think the recognition is really, really key. I've touched on it slightly, just on around time to develop solutions. There is something about sustainability that's really put some very good foundations, what we're trying to do with this, and we're sort of looking to take those, how have we empowered the team, and looking to build those into our normal work going forward, and that becomes sort of like the norm. So we have a happy and empowered BI team. So what I suppose, digging in a bit deeper, why was it a magic enabler? What did it kind of do? So I was reflecting back. So I wouldn't say we went from crawling to running, but I think it was more Sam maybe gave an inch and we took a mile. So we embraced a lot of other things outside and saw the opportunities we kind of had with this. So it was the confidence to embrace the opportunities and service improvements that arose. So there's a phrase around planned happenstance that people are aware of it, actually, where you put yourself in more situations that random things may occur. It was a bit like that. The more situations we put ourselves in, the more things we kind of found we had opportunities around. We got a voice, which was an interesting one. Previously, we'd be asked to, it still happens occasionally now, but not as much. We were doing a business case, please can we have some information to support the findings of the business case? Well, the data doesn't say what the findings are saying actually. It's more around actually can we use the data to help shape the business case and the requirements going forwards? And also being part of the data MDTs, which I'll go into in a minute, around those, but there was very much a voice. They might wish I didn't have a voice now, but it's one of those. I think we went from isolated reporting, so reporting the firefighting that we're kind of talking about of an issue, fires over there, put that issue out, fire over there, put that issue out, to more around triangulation, so pulling metrics together that were similar, and I mean correlations and causation, but actually things that actually work well as a team, bunch of metrics together as well, and also then moving that more into being live analytics, so having apps on screen in meetings and actually driving those apps as well, which really, and I'm not going to go into benefits a bit later on again, but less actions in meetings. Got a static PowerPoint slide with a chart on. What's underneath that? Can we dig in a bit further? No, unless you've done 3, 4, 5 different PowerPoint slides further back. With this, you can say, yeah, we can dig in further. We can see what's working well, what's not working as well. So that was a real sort of game changer around just helping us move actions and issues forwards as well. Yeah, so we've been invited to meetings to identify insights, which is fantastic, and drive those on screen analytics as well. Some people are getting braver and are using those analytics on screen as well, apart from us, but we are there to help with those analytics. And I suppose all those things sort of move along, build our confidence. So we identified missing pieces, and occasionally we might have found an occasional data unicorn as well around things we wouldn't have found. But it's not just our confidence as well, it's other people's confidence in us increased as well. So that idea of building professional relationships and trust. So the more we were empowered and the more voice we had, the more we could sort of showcase what we could do, the more confidence the organization had backing us again, and built that sort of trust and that relationship between the senior management, the operational team, and the BI team. So I wanted out of, I didn't want to do a little flow circle thing, so I did a yin yang kind of approach. It's that trust from the organization enables us to be more confident. Trust goes round, so the confidence builds, the trust builds. You get the idea. It kind of goes round and round and round.
What a virtuous circle.
That's the one. Yeah, that's the one.
And just to add, I mean, Andrew, the truth was that sometimes, well, we often feel terrible coming into an organisation and working with people like you, because we're mainly saying stuff that you probably said before. But the reality is you probably haven't been listened to, and we were, which makes us feel quite bad. But I think that worked quite well, didn't it? Because
there's something about timing as well. Just because something didn't work 2 years ago, 12 months ago, doesn't mean it's not going to work now. If it's a good idea, and it's just about, I suppose, where the organisation is and the issues we have at a point in time, doesn't mean that issue you had over there, it just didn't work then, and it's still, I suppose, a string in your bow or whatever you want to call it at some point as well. So it's, don't give up just because it didn't work then, it might work again at another time. So I think the stars aligned really, really well.
Indeed. Now, so one of the things that I've reflected on is I think that the decision makers, the requesters of information in Morecambe Bay, are probably better at requesting stuff now than they were when we started working with the organisation. So you might want to type into the chat as we go through this. We've got a little bit of role play for you, which might be quite fun. So what do decision makers that might not be so good at requesting information, what do they look like? How do they actually request things? So be kind to us without acting. So I'm going to introduce the characters. Get into character, Andrew.
Yeah, I will do. You've got my handsome version of me in a minute anyway. Yeah, with less grey hair and no beard.
So
do you want to take control back? Or
I will take control back. Good idea. Good reminder there. Have I got control? Yes, I think I have. Yeah. So I am the Chief Operating Officer at St Elsewhere NHS Trust, which is the trust that we know quite well. And Andrew is the head of BI at St Elsewhere as well.
I was pleased. Yeah, Sam promoted me. I was quite pleased with that.
You've been promoted, yeah. So that's good. Okay, so I'm obviously the information requester. So let's see what happens. Did you read that? Did that go too quick? I'm going to go back if I can. There we go. So does anybody receive emails like this? Or if I just manufactured something that doesn't happen, does anybody get an email into a generic inbox? You've never had this, Andrew, have you really? Surely.
Oh, we've changed our information requesting, so you can't do it now.
But you have done in the past.
We've had this in the past many times. Yeah, it's usually at 4:30 on a Friday afternoon as well.
It might be a general inbox. Goes into possibly. Okay, so that's my ask. So what's Andrew going to say? That's nice. Thanks, Andrew. Now, who wants to see the analysis that Andrew provides? Should we have a little look at it? You can let us know in the chat or with emojis what you think about it. So here's Andrew's analysis. Oh, look, Andrew, they're laughing and they're a bit shocked.
No, quite hurtful. Yes.
Don't be too hurt, honestly.
I quite like spaghetti as well.
Yeah, what for dinner? Yeah, like eating it. Okay, so what does Sam think? What am I going to say? Well, that's a really helpful analysis, Andrew. So obviously I thought it's rubbish, but I'm not going to say that to you. I'm going to say it's really useful. I do need a RAG rated report and a pie chart. So can you please help, please? Do you like the avatars, by the way? This is meant to be us.
This is uncanny, isn't it? So, yeah, you can have that at the end of the day.
Okay. And look, but you know it's the wrong thing to do, don't you?
Yeah, that's the thing. And I think with you kind of know, well, there's other things I can provide, or what actually is the problem we're looking to resolve as well. But yeah, I suppose that disempowerment part of you, or the confidence part of you, doesn't want to challenge, because you think, well, who am I to challenge? That's what they want. They know what they need. Senior management.
And you fancy an easy life, don't you? Easy life, give her what she wants. That's what you're going to do. Somebody's shocked in the chat about the pie chart. So goodness, let's see if we create a pie chart. But yeah, you're going to send it over by the end of the day. So that's really helpful. Okay, so have a think. Type in the chat, please, how you think that went. Does anybody have a view on how that interaction went? Is it an interaction that you might recognise? Could something different have happened? Because we might rerun that scenario, mightn't we, in terms of how it could have been different. But I want to see if anybody's out there and actually listening. We've got a suggestion of a violin chart. I don't know what a violin chart is. That's interesting. I'll have to go and have a look. So Paula thinks it was dreadful. I didn't get what I wanted. It's very common interaction. Yeah, I feel that it is a common interaction. Or we've got a suggestion that maybe the phone could have been picked up. Well, I did pick it up eventually, but not at the right point, did I? And you could have picked up the phone, Andrew.
Could have done.
Okay, so I think they think we did very well. So do you think we could rerun that interaction, Andrew? Are you ready with your script and in character?
I'm ready with my script and in character. My best thespian.
Okay, so I think we need to have a conversation and pick up that phone, or go and find Andrew. Hi, Andrew. I'm Sam.
Hi, Sam.
Not sure we've met. Hiya.
Hello.
I need some analysis. Can you provide me with some analysis to describe what's going on in A&E?
Yeah, no problem. It's just to allow us to provide, I suppose, some more appropriate analysis that's linked to your ask. Could you elaborate a little more on some key concerns you'd like to focus on in A&E?
Well, I know that we're really challenged in A&E, especially around waiting times. So I want to understand a bit more about what's happening, what's going on there.
Okay, no, that makes sense. Yeah, we can provide something with you. So some trend analysis to provide insight into any performance, and I think some charts for patient experience.
Okay, that sounds great, Andrew. I would appreciate it if you could provide me with a RAG report. Now, I've used RAG reports for the whole of my career. That's obviously the tool for the job here. And also, I really like pie charts. So I think breach reasons is something I'm interested in. So can you provide me with a pie chart of breach reasons, please?
Okay, if you're looking for trend analysis, I'd recommend using an SBC chart instead of a RAG report. An SBC will provide you greater insight into whether a metric's improving or should be a concern. I'd be happy to discuss the SBCs with you, as well as providing some analytical narrative on the charts. Following our initial discussion, for the breach reason analysis, I'll explore the most informative way to visualize, as a pie chart might not provide you with the relevant insight.
Okay, Andrew, I'm not convinced by what you say, to be honest, because, you know, RAG rated charts and pie charts are the way to go. You know, I've worked in a big teaching hospital in London. That's what I'm used to. But I look forward to seeing what you come up with.
No, I'll be interested.
Excellent. Look, William thinks that we're the next reality TV phenomenon. Wow. Okay, that's the end of the role play, guys. But shall we have a look at what Andrew provides me with? Oh, well, I didn't say it was for meeting tomorrow, did I? But Andrew, do you want to talk me through what you've produced? It looks very interesting.
Yeah, so we provided so just 4 SPC charts. We've got A&E attendances on the top left, ED performance top right, patients spend over 12 hours in A&E bottom left, and FFT, friends and family test scores, on the bottom right. I think you could argue there's been a slight increase in A&E attendances. We do know, though, that number of A&E attendances is the highest we've ever had over the last sort of few months. It's record numbers coming through at the moment. ED performance, even though it does feel as though there's some bad news around, we have achieved the target for 4 months in a row, which is some really good performance. If that carries on, we'll be showing some special cause improvement. Patients spending over 12 hours in A&E is also showing a decrease as well. That's also hit the target for 3 months in a row, so that potentially shows some special cause improvement too. I think the thing that stood out though more was there's a lot of noise around A&E and heat around A&E currently, what we're saying, but actually patient experience is showing special cause improvement. So there was something, has anything changed? Have we done anything different within A&E currently that would suggest that the patient experience scores are improving? But if any changes have been made, they do having an impact.
Okay, well, that's really interesting. I think I'll go and ask some questions about that, but that is really helpful. So I think those charts are helpful. And I see this isn't a pie chart.
No, can you hear me okay? My mic dropped in and out. We thought Pareto chart would, I suppose, give you a great level of insight of where to focus maybe some of your, if you want to make a change in some of the interactions. So you kind of see on the left-hand side, the majority of the breaches are occurring due to a doctor in a initial ED assessment. So it's around 30%. Then we've got wait for bed and ambulance handover. So they're accounting for about 70, just over 70% of A&E breaches. If we're going to do some interventions, we'd recommend, it looks like it would make more sense doing those interventions at the front door. So we've got waiting for doctor assessment and also ambulance handover being the 2 areas where it looks like there's majority of those breaches are occurring. So things like portering at the other end, it's maybe not as much to focus on.
This would help me focus on the right things. I can see that if you had a pie chart with lots of different categories, it might not be so impactful. So you might have swung me both for SPC and Pareto charts there, Andrew. So well done. So look at what Andrew did there. He managed to give me some more impactful and useful analysis, even though it wasn't what I wanted in the first place. So he did provide a bit of challenge. Now, we always talk about this, but just to say there is great value in working in partnership between clinical or operational teams and analysts. So we've got Abigail here, who's an analyst. We've got a team kicking off a discharge project. They do know Abigail already, so that's good. They've asked for some help. She's pleased to be asked. She can provide lots of different types of help. She can go along to their meetings. They're going to buy some cake, which in my experience always goes down really well with analysts. Biscuits equally well, probably, yeah. So she's pleased with the cake. They didn't need to do it. But just to encourage you to go and seek out your decision makers. Now, Andrew, where's the trust now then?
I'll take control and we'll have a look. Conscious of time, so rattle on as much as you can. So we've come a long way over that period of time. So we took what Sam, the SPC methodology that Sam sort of described, and we looked to make more of a reporting framework with it. So we mentioned metric libraries. We've got essentially I suppose you call a waterboard framework in place, which is ever developing at the moment. So the metric that goes to board, that's friends and family test, is essentially an aggregated version of the metric that goes into a care group or sort of specialty perspective lower down. So it's the same data, aggregated up, aggregated down, single versions of the truth, which I think is massively empowering. You don't want 2 versions of a metric giving different answers and then you get asked why is that different and you don't know. That's not empowering at all from an analyst perspective. We've got supporting SOPs for these things as well. So if someone wants to change the definition of a metric that's using the framework, has to go through, you've got to fill in a form, it's got to go through a change control process, which stops, I think Sam lovingly called it the metric cookie. So if someone says they want to change a particular standard target, wherever it will be, it's got to go through a process first before that's actually ratified through. Again, it's about enablement and confidence and actually having some backup and standing ground. And we have an executive that backs us up on those as well if we have any issues with those. And you can't see it for that's just an example of what one of the click apps and dashboards looks like. As you select a treatment function, it changes the SBC chart. You can select different metrics. There's another screen that's got 4 SBC charts on that you can compare metric with metrics as well. So that's the app we use in the MDTs for the care groups, which go into me, and also the performance meetings. The same app gets used as well. So we've come on huge leaps and bounds over that period of time. Spoke the data MDT. I switched the slides around again, Sam. Back the other way again. So what is a data MDT? And I think this is one of the things, real enablers, also game changers we kind of had that really pushed us along to like the next sort of level along was data MDT essentially is a care group, for example. So medicine care group, a good example, you'd have the associate director of performance, you'd have the triumvirate sort of leadership for that care group, you'd have the people and OD representative, the governor representative, set of service managers, but being driven, with the app on screen, but then it's being driven by the analyst, with our BI team. They create a set of notes beforehand. They've done their homework. They can go through, they can highlight areas that are showing special cause concern, special cause improvement, drilling a bit deeper. So if we're failing RTT, for example, there are any specialists that are doing well, not doing so well, anything that's moved since the previous month. We'll have this conversation with them, and that essentially builds people up. It allows better understanding, so those things around drilling in deeper, what's going on, the know your business type of approach as well. It also allows us to sort of talk about data quality problems as well, and have some of those surfaced in the room with the people that actually can really make a difference. So it's just those different charts kind of on screen. I did do, it was called PowerPoint is Dead. Ironically, it was a PowerPoint presentation that I did, but just bear with me on that one. And the video and the link to that is on Sam, the Make It account page, but it's also a link to it there as well. So what did we do? How did we kind of do it? So Sam's already given a shout out to Glenn Howard. So Sam put us in contact with Glenn around, he was doing these data MDTs as part of COVID to look at live data, things that happened, and make sort of more live decisions. But we looked and thought, actually, can we use this within this framework we're talking through and actually look at care group analytics with each care group and have more of that data driven approach? We trialed it with the community care group in October 2022. It went really well. We had lots of good feedback. So in January 2023, we rolled it out across all the care groups with the leadership of our director of transformation as well, helping us sort of roll that out across the care groups as well, and giving us backup and supporting us generally around getting the process in place. In September 2023, we made the massive leap to go into our performance meetings, so the care group performance meetings, so to do them data driven. We got rid of PowerPoint completely. So where the PowerPoint is dead kind of thing came from. So we moved across into these performance meetings, which put us in a completely different environment. So we're being data led with an exec leading the meeting, which is scary at first. We then moved into, we have key lines of inquiry, which are formed by a set of senior management sitting together, talking through about the key lines of inquiry for those performance meetings. We started bringing the narrative from the BI narrative from the MDTs into those CLOE meetings, help inform the CLOE meetings. And it kind of started pushing the conversation a bit differently. And rather than, this is what I think is going on, it became more actually, well, what's the data saying? Actually, what's the right question we can ask based on the data? And then this last month just gone, we moved towards BI generated key lines of inquiries. That's very much a case of, there's a report that we create now that has the special cause improvement, special cause concern, areas that we think need to be highlighted or escalated, and they're going across into those key lines of inquiry meetings now. We've also introduced a BI call. We have a BI analyst call now as well with the BI team, where we talk through what those findings are that each analyst has found. So it empowers each one of them as well to understand what's going on, what are the issues that are overlapping between care groups, I suppose, or those interactions between them as well. So we removed 100-page PowerPoints, 5 of them every month, which is amazing. BI rep front and center. It's now operational BAU, so it's going really, really well. We have a common look and feel for analytics that helps people feel empowered from an organizational perspective, that we're rolling that out more and more as we're going along, so that it doesn't feel weird or different when they open an app up. We had an interesting one on one of the performance meetings with Scott, our coup, where there was a care group talking around something, and it was literally, what does the data say? Does the data back up what the narrative that's being asked around? And yes, it did at that point. And so it worked really, really well. So actually come drilling a bit deeper, avoids the actions, and it just helps us move issues along as we're going forwards. So from an analyst perspective, we get feedback. All feedback's good. Constructive feedback's good. It's not constructive, it's not good, but yeah, feedback is good. We can act on it, we can do something different. From an analyst, we get to explain the analysis and ask questions and understand context better. So some of the asks we get as a BI team come out of those performance meetings. So actually we're picking them up, the conversation going, I think actually we could do something with that. That's an area we can help without being asked to help about. We can interject with those. We can discuss requests, so we can provide analysis which answers the question. We can see the impact, which is really good. So before we think actually the thing we've identified, you can see the impact on patient care now. So actually the thing, and something's come in, it's made a difference, and that's then improved the patient journey. It's ultimately what we're all here for. Data quality issues. I could put data quality issues in under the nose of execs and things and try and get them on action logs and action trackers, which is great, especially when it involves sort of process that's outside of our control. And it's feeling valued. Feeling valued as a member of the BI team, feeling valued as a member of the sort of senior team in the organisation as well, and them being valued around the team itself, and seeing that impact on patient care. It's scary at first. I was saying to Sam before the morning I think we moved to the first performance meeting. Our crew had been on holiday and he said, we can't do it, we're not ready to go. But another director said, no, let's go with it and see how it goes. And afterwards he said, it's brilliant, it's worked really well. Let's keep going and work out what else we can do, how we can stand it forward. But it's scary. But yeah, it's one of those. It's fine. So where next? I suppose just quickly and briefly around actually what we're planning to do next. Now we're going to take it forward and continue the momentum. We've now got an issue where we're struggling to keep up with demand is the problem now. People are starting to talk the language from a BI perspective. They're talking about metrics and SPCs and variation and all those sort of, we've got the right people asking better questions as well. But we're now being asked to do more analysis, and analysis takes more time. So we're looking at what we can do around auto generation of SPC exceptions. So it gives the analyst a good starter for 10. So that's being done through SQL. Currently we have a SSRS report that generates and provides the basically the framework for the analysts to do their narrative for the MDT meetings. We've got another one looking at data science generated metric correlation alerts and future predictions. So actually correlation isn't causation, but can we look at a bit like, I don't know, you've watched Star Wars Phantom Menace on Netflix, you might want to watch Star Wars Return of the Jedi kind of approach. Things that look like they go together. If something happens here, actually this seems to happen over here with this metric as well. And can we use that intelligence to start predicting actually where performance and where certain metrics are going to go as well around that. So that's quite an exciting one. And all that's doing really is providing analysts time to analyze, to keep up with demand. We want our analysts to be able to carry this momentum on. We don't want to get bogged back down in time to write rafts and rafts and rafts of reports and analysis to feed the meetings. We want to look at it's working, how do we automate it, and how do we work that then and take that forward. So we've got that analytical team that's fresh and the learning as well, and we've got those sort of new skills being provided. And here we go. Last one, I think, 5 top tips. I'm gonna grab a drink while I can. So define your BI team flavor, a common look and feel for analytics. That's really key. There's nothing worse than someone going on an app and then going on another one. It looks completely different, no common look and feel. I can't tell what it's doing. I don't know how to use it. If it looks familiar, it'll feel familiar and people will dive in and they're not scared of breaking it. Be brave. Don't be afraid to ask questions, fully understand and ask. And do challenge if you think there's a better way. We are the subject matter experts in these areas, so we need to understand that and be confident in that. Senior leaders are just people too. They're not. They might seem big and scary, but they are just people. And most of the ones I have interactions with, whether it's quite unfortunate, they all listen and they want to know what your thoughts around some of these things are. Triangulate and correlate as part of your analysis. Don't just do outcome measures. Think about process and balancing measures. So the ED for our performance target, completion to converted. We've got underlying time to treatment, time to triage. We've got diagnostic times, waits for beds, patients remitted, patients not admitted. There's a lot of processes underneath there that build that up. So think about those sort of other metrics around that to help build up the story and build the narrative. Metric measure definition visibility we found has really, really helped. So the click app we had on screen before, for the metrics we've got, this part of the screen has the numerator definition, denominator definition, target methodology, and also an English description of what the metric is saying. if you never built that metric, you don't know what it is. There's a familiarity with what's that doing there, how's that derived, what's the definition. It's there on screen, so it's really easy to sort of at least look informed and actually how that's working. Don't underestimate the power of relationships. It's all about relationship. It's about building trust with senior leaders and decision makers. The more trust they have, the more they'll ask you, the more they'll ask your opinions, and that goes round and round and round. And that's ultimately where the influence of informing better decisions comes from. It's the trust that comes between sort of the BI teams and yourself.
Wow, good top tips there, Andrew.
Excellent.
Excellent. You can. So all I'm going to finish with is to say that you are all in really, really powerful positions, because everything that you do has got an incredible potential to impact positively on patient care. And that's what we're all here to do. Sometimes you can feel a bit far removed, can't you? But think about what opportunity you've got to actually be able to make a difference. So if you ask for something that's ill-defined, if you ask for something that sounds a bit silly, if you ask for a RAG report or other ridiculous thing, then it's within your gift to provide that challenge. I know it's a bit scary and you need to be a bit brave, but I think it really can pay dividends. You can say Sam said so. There you go. Use my name in vain. So the last slide, which I'm very proud of, Andrew, look, we've got making data count colours and a thank you. So that's all for us. I'm going to stop sharing now. Any questions? We've got amazingly 5 minutes.
Well, I'd first like to say thank you ever so much both for your experiences with Morecambe Bay and making data count, and how it was a beautiful union, and had so many positive results. And it's really, I find it fascinating actually. Everything you've talked about, it all makes perfect sense. You know, the relationships, the empowerment, but you just have to make those moves. You have to establish the relationships and so on. So thank you ever so much for sharing that with us. And I'm sure like there's so many people out there hugely inspired by this, and they will want to find out more. They will want to come on a making data count training session, Sam. So you'll have to share the link in the chat if you've got it available to you. That's challenging, isn't it? How do you do that? I'm a guest speaker, and then you're going to make me think. So yeah, thank you ever so much for that. I'm looking to there were some questions that came up in the chat. I don't know that we've got time to sort of pick them out.
Well, I might be able to answer them I can probably access the chat after this, so we can maybe go and have a look. But it's worth mentioning, Rachel, maybe that we do at the moment provide analyst training as part of the Making Data Count programme, but over the summer we're going to be rewriting that. And I think a key component that we want to introduce into the training that we provide is around some of the stuff that we talked about today. So, you know, what's the kind of softer stuff? How can you most effectively liaise with decision makers? So we've covered a bit of that today, but I would say watch out, people, for the autumn when we're going to be launching a new Making Data Count analyst training series, where hopefully we might be able to get a bit more into this in more detail.
That's fantastic. That sounds incredibly useful. And that would go nicely with the thing we were talking. I don't know if it's a secret thing, the thing that we were talking about before, backstage. We're thinking along the lines of
that thing. Yes.
A
the
conference,
secret thing.
you know, the secret thing, which is no longer secret because it's been recorded and I've just said it. But yeah. So thank you. Yeah, thank you for the heads up on that as well. I'm going to try and do 10 things at once because it's relevant to what we've been talking about today. And I'll just post a couple of things in the chat as well. So one of the things, and I'm not going to do these in the right order, they're just in the order that they're in my brain, which is not going to be sensible, obviously. I'll just put that in here. So we've got a Midlands Analyst Network huddle on Thursday. I just wanted to mention that because we're going to be having sort of an open chat around asking a good question. So it's kind of important, isn't it? And so when you're putting up these slides, I was thinking, well, I was screen grabbing them, of course, first off. But it's just so nice to and reassuring to hear that everybody's thinking along these lines, and just the massive importance of it, and obviously behind that is the relationship. And had it not been for that role play, I wouldn't be knowing what to think right now, you know. So it's given me some ideas for Thursday. So I was going to, I'll put a couple of those things. I'll put a link to that in the chat. And also, very, very importantly, so we've got a couple of minutes left. If I just put that on the chat there. We've got 2 more E-labs. Oh, I think somebody needs to pop themselves on mute. There we go. Maybe. You never can tell. Yeah, so we've got 2 more E-labs to go. We've got and they're both tomorrow. And the first one is I'll share my screen actually because it's probably easier to see them, even though I put the link in the chat there. I just put the so I have that's on here, which I think you can see. So the first one we have, which is tomorrow morning, is the anatomy of a waiting list and how well do we understand our waiting list. So it seems an innocuous, that's not a word. It seems that title, I think, from what I know is going to go on in that session, doesn't really tell the whole story. It's a fascinating look to give people a better understanding about waiting lists and what the numbers actually tell you, and how crazy the national targets are. But that's another thing. So that's tomorrow. That's tomorrow morning. And then in tomorrow afternoon we have a session with that's with Abraham George, who's a consultant in public health in Kent, and he, with colleagues, is going to be talking about how they've used system dynamics in local authority public health practice. And that's going to be an overview of what they've been doing there, which they've been doing for some time, and they're seeing real impact down in Kent and more broadly in public health and on health inequalities. So that is something that I do hope you are all going to sign up to. Spaces are limited, so make sure you get registered. So we have hit the 3 o'clock mark.
Thank you for asking us.
That's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to everything that's coming our way in terms of making data count. I hope we connect again. I hope to see everybody who's out there at the E-lab tomorrow and at HACA in a couple of weeks' time. Sam can't make it because she's on a boat. Anyway,
Sorry. Enjoy.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks everyone. Thanks Andrew.
Thanks so much. Thanks. Cheers now. Bye.
Bye. Bye.